Democrats. Today is Wednesday, August 31st, and it's time for the Chair's Daily Life. Happy Wednesday. All righty, so I'm going to dive into it. I've deliberately not talked about this because I like to keep all of my topics about local things because you have CNN and MSNBC for the national stuff, but I figured out a way to talk about this in a way that makes it local. And it's almost been a month, right? So on August 9th, the Department of Justice, the FBI, legally executed a search warrant at Mar-a-Lago, the residence of the most recent former president. It was a legally executed search warrant. So I want to say that part right out the gate. And they found stuff. And so for all the people who are saying, why, they found stuff. So we're going to leave it at that, but I want to come back and talk about why I want to talk about it today. So first of all, it was legally executed subpoena, right? So they had to schedule with the Secret Service. They had to schedule enough so that the former president's attorney was there. So there was no sneak attack. There was no riot. There was no raid. So that's the first thing. They had asked him before multiple times just to give up the information, and they had to. So it wasn't like, why did they do it? Why shouldn't they have done it? All that kind of stuff. Hi, Blake. I'm assuming that Mary's here and Wayne's here. I can't see everybody. And then also, he gave some back and he didn't give it all back. There's a reason I'm talking about it. Mar-a-Lago is a resort the president knows the former president knows it's a resort, and we all know it's a resort because he had to go through some special deal to be able to live there because it's a resort. But I mentioned that it's a resort because you don't have to live there to be there walking around, right? And there are people walking around. It's a golf course. People have weddings there, and we know it because we've seen it on the news. We've seen where the former president just busts into other people's weddings and takes the microphone and talks, right? We've seen it. It's a resort. And so they're just random people walking around while there are unsecured classified documents on the premises, right? And when I say random people, okay, so there are the people who schedule their weddings, but then, we just showed a picture of the person who somehow gained entry under a false name. So we don't even know who he's allowing to be on the premises, to have who can be there when we have classified documents on the premise. It's not cool. It's not safe. So the moment that this happened, and here comes the local angle, guys. The moment that it happened, James Lankford, who's on the ballot, James Lankford put out a tweet where he said, I demand to know what's going on. It's been 24 hours and we haven't heard, and it hadn't been 24 hours when he put out the tweet, and we haven't heard if they got stuff. We don't know what's going on. He was performing. He knows how this works. And he's just putting on a show. Now, why am I talking about this? Why am I saying his name aloud when I try not to? Because I want to remind you that we have a real candidate. We have someone who is Oklahoma focused that we can put in that spot. And her name is Madison Horn. We don't have to send James Lankford back to DC. We don't. We have someone else that we can vote for, that we can send to DC, who will remember that she represents Oklahoma. She won't be literally calling us a border state, which is what Lankford did today, called us a border state. I know before I get to the border, I got to go through Texas. I'm not real sure how he's managing it, but he called us a border state. We have someone who's going to be on the ballot that will give us an alternative. We don't have to send James Lankford back. It's not a foregone conclusion. I've heard a whole bunch of people say, I don't know that anybody can beat him. The person who gets the most votes wins. If we want to beat him, and we do, we just have to show up in record numbers. And let me tell you something. The record isn't some huge number. We truly just have to show up. We showed up at a rate of 50% of registered Democrats. We have a chance of moving him out of the way. That's all it takes, is we show up in record numbers that moves him out of the way. So there's that. Markwayne Mullin, who is also on the ballot. When this came out, he said, the fact that they could raid a former president's home should send chills. Don't want to misquote him. Send chills down the spines of Americans everywhere, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. So here's what I'm going to say. You might want to hit record. I agree with him. It did send chills down my spine, but not for the same reason. It sent chills down my spine because a former president of the United States took documents that he knew better. He took and kept documents that were classified. He hid and sequestered documents that were vital to our nation's security. That sent chills down my spine. Now, what I think that the congressman meant when he said down the spine, he's like, because they could come for you. You know what? If I somehow got access to some classified documents and just had them hanging out at my unsecure house, yeah, I expect they probably wouldn't even send the FBI after me. I don't know who they'd send, but I would expect that somebody would come after them. So doesn't scare me. I don't have access to them. I don't have them at the house. But that's what he said. Instead of focusing on the fact that we had a potential traitor in our midst, instead of recognizing that maybe it's time to stop supporting someone who is not thinking of our nation, someone who's most likely considering, his debts, he still sided with the man who we believe there's a credible reason to think that he's up to espionage. That's who Markwayne Mullins sided with. He didn't side with Oklahomans. He didn't side with Americans. He sided with a potential traitor. We don't have to send him back to DC. He's actually asking for an upgrade job. We don't have to give it to him. We don't have to send him. We have a candidate that we know. We have a proven candidate in Kendra Horn. She served us well in Congress, and I believe she'll serve us well in the Senate. We don't have to send Markwayne back. He can be back here, differentiating what gender his children are and running the plumbing company. He can be back here. We're not, sentencing him to unemployment. He can be back here while we have someone who represents Oklahoma and DC. We don't have to send them back. We have real choices, not just names on the ballot. We have real choices, real servant leaders who are ready to go and represent Oklahoma. Now, I've told you what Langford said. I don't think we need to talk about Inhofe. He's not on the ballot. I've told you what Langford said. I told you what Mullins said. And so I want to tell you about the rest. Stephanie Bice, who represents Congressional District 5, which is the Oklahoma City area and now Lincoln County, Logan County, part of Canadian County. I mean, it's just too much. But anyway, she just said deeply concerning. Now, I don't know if her deeply concerning and my deeply concerning were the same thing, but she did not go into hyperbole. We haven't heard anything from her about it. Because we don't really hear very much from her. But she did release a statement once she was called. She didn't tweet about it. She waited until once she was called. We have a very vocal person running against her, and that's Joshua Harris Hill. We have a very vocal person running against her. We have a choice. We don't have to send her back. Congressional District 4, Tom Cole. His statement was, we should all be scared. I agree. I was scared. I was scared that man, who I'm not sure what his grip on reality is, had access to classified documents past his due date of having access to classified documents. So I was scared. I'm sure that that's not what Congressman Cole meant, but that's what he said. As for Congressional District 1 and 3, Kevin Hern and Frank Lucas, they said exactly what you would expect them to say. Nothing. They didn't utter a peep. They haven't said a word. And that's what they say about most issues. So I'll leave it at that. They've not said anything. We have candidates for all 5 of our congressional districts. We need someone in there who cares to keep us informed, who cares to fight for us, to advocate for us when issues come up that affect Oklahomans, because that's not what we have. We have folks who got to DC and fell in with the crowd and forgot that they represented us. So I'm going to remind you, we have 2 Senate seats, 5 congressional seats on the ballot. You're not going to have all of them, right? We have 2 Senate seats, 5 congressional seats. Our 2 Senate seats to replace the unfinished term for James Inhofe, we have Kendra Horn. proven entity to replace James Langford, and he needs to be replaced because he is obsessed with Texas right now. And maybe he can go to Texas, but he's obsessed with Texas right now. He needs to go. And to replace him, we have Madison Horn. And for Congress, Congressional District 1, Tulsa County, part of Rogers Wagner, Tulsa, that's Adam Martin. Congressional District 2, the eastern border of the state, that's Naomi Andrews. Congressional District 3, almost the whole western half of the state, that's Jeremiah Ross. Congressional District 4, central southern part of the state, that is Mary Brannon. And Congressional District 5, which is the center of the state, Oklahoma County, part of Lincoln, Logan, Canadian, Pottawatomie counties, that's Joshua Harris Till. We have choices. All the newspapers and all the people who call me always want to talk about how Democrats don't have anybody to vote for, why Democrats don't have enough candidates, why aren't there people on the Democratic ballot. I'm not real sure what they're talking about because we have candidates. We have candidates. And right now you have 69 days to go out and educate yourself about those candidates and then educate everybody you know. We have candidates. We have statewide candidates. We have a gubernatorial candidate that has a shot. She is within striking distance, but it could only happen if we all show up. It could only happen if we all show up and then take somebody with us. Because I know that the people who are watching this is a very small number, but it can be multiplied if you go out and tell 10 people. We have candidates. Do not let the media lull you into thinking that we don't have candidates. Do not let them scare you into thinking that we just have to settle for the Republicans who put their names on the ballot. We have Democrats who are running and they need your support. I mean, I'm looking at just 1/3 of the people who can see me. And I know that Blake Aguirre, who's running for State Senate District 22, is watching me. And I almost can't go to an event that's anywhere near his district where he's not there representing and having conversations with people who could vote for him. I know that Mary Brannon watches me 4 days out of the week. She's running for Congress in Congressional District 4. Our candidates are out there. They are real people. They are approachable. And all they need is your support. They need your time or your talent or your treasure. They need your support. So I've been talking to people and people who aren't as engaged as I am and people who are like, well, I'm done voting, right? I'm like, no, there's an election in November, even for Democrats. There will be names on your ballot. There's an election in November, even for Democrats. I know you're seeing all the Republican commercials and you think we don't have anybody to vote for. We do. And make sure that everybody you know knows that we have somebody to vote for. We have 69 days. That's just under 10 weeks that we need to get out as many people as we can possibly get out, because that's what's going to make the difference between who our governor is. And let me just remind you, our governor is a guy who's involved in many, many scandals and a whole lot of corruption. And he doesn't think that he owes us an explanation. That's who our governor is. We need somebody different. We need somebody who recognizes that we hire him at the ballot box or we hire her at the ballot box. But the only way that happens is if we hire her. And the way that we hire her is that we show up and we take 10 people with us. That's what I'm begging you to do. I hope that you continue to watch me, but I'm going to continue to say, I need your help to educate yourself, educate people that you know, and take 10 people with you to the ballot, because that's what's going to make the difference. We just have to show up in numbers they're not expecting. And if you're a Democrat in Oklahoma, you will have people, not person, you will have people on your ballot on November 8th. So it's time for you to educate yourself and know who those people are. All righty. Thanks for joining me. There are plenty of events coming up. There's the pancake breakfast. There's just desserts. There's the leading ladies event. There's the Mike Sinar barbecue. All of these are events where candidates are going to be their people, where candidates are going to be, and you have an opportunity to talk to them. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow at 4:15.